So I got my wall of shelves to be the background, and they were much shorter than expected, and my big giant head covers them. So much for that. I already tried to start this video, and my cat was being an absolute jerk and ruined every train of thought I had. I have to start again. I don't even know if I've collected any thoughts that I have. Great. But it was fine. I was at the beginning. Hello. I am the polyamorous librarian. Believe me, 5 years in, it's not like the name that I connect to the most, but here I am talking to you about books. And I apologize in advance. Last video, I did not make time to try to get rid of my nail polish. This time I did, and my nail polish is like expired or something. Apparently this can happen. So for those who really hate chipped nails, there's a teeny tiny bit of polish left, but mostly I forgot I used the really cheap nail polish, and now my fingernails are bright yellow, gross and weird. And if I remember correctly from last time, the thing I forgot when I put the polish back on, this is going to take weeks to disappear. It's so horrible looking. So if you see in this video, when I am, gesturing, that my nails look strange, don't buy really cheap green nail polish. Ew. Anyway, it's just tinted. And then your nails, grow and shed, and then they're back to normal, but it's awful. Anyway, I am here to talk about two excellent books that come out today, September 6th, 2022. They are called Ithaca by Claire North and Self-Made Boys by Anna Marie McLemore. What do they have in common? They're retellings, and that is about it. They're both great. I mean, those are your two things. So let's get into it. First off, Ithaca. It took me a little bit longer to read it. Once again, this is not an issue with the book. The book is excellent. It'll probably be in my top 3 of the entire year. I loved every page of this book. Every single one. And is it so humid in here that my glasses are fogging up, or does it just look that way? I think they actually are. And it took me a while because the writing is incredibly lyrical. It makes you want to slow down and read every single word precisely, and you want to make sure you're not missing any reference to the Odyssey, which is what this book is about. When people tell you that it is about Penelope, I disagree, although Penelope is a major player in it. If you read that it is about the Odyssey, that is not really true either. Sort of. Instead, it is about the period of time where Odysseus is gone. It's a couple years before he comes back, and it is primarily about the tension that exists in Ithaca because he has not returned. It is that horrible period of time where the suitors have come to try to force Penelope to choose a husband, and so that one of them can be king, because her son is really not quite old enough to become king, and neither is he really strong enough or ready enough. But no one is really quite able to say that Odysseus is really dead, because even though he has been gone a really long time after the official end of the war, there have been other people that sort of took their sweet ass time getting home, because they were sort of off going, well, we could have made more off of that, so let's just go do, some pillaging or whatever. And so they came home a couple years later, and everyone was like, well, the winds could have been against them, and they could be making some more fortunes for us. So technically, Odysseus might not be dead. So we all just kind of have to sit here until, I guess, something really happens, right? So Penelope could choose someone, but it would be a really, really bad idea because of all the tensions that are going on. So you're like, okay, like, so it's politics. What's interesting about that? Well, let me tell you who the narrator actually is. It's Hera. Like, Hera, the goddess who is almost always portrayed as like the biggest bitch in the entire universe. She's jealous and awful, and she just basically exists to be jealous and awful. And making her the narrator of this work is an amazing choice on Claire North's part. For one thing, how often do we get to see a representation of Hera that is more than just jealous bitch? Seriously. For another, it really deepens the work because, I mean, you get a God's eye view on everything. Everything. You can see into everyone's head. You can see everyone's intentions. And that is truly the most, omniscient narrator that you could get, right? Really bringing back that third person omniscient narrator. And then on top of that, her concept of who Hera is fantastic. This goddess who really has been who is just put in this, her own political position, right? Like, she doesn't choose to be this woman who lives in a place of, oh, you're Zeus's wife and that's all you are and can be, and so you're just sit there and be jealous and can't do anything about it. It's like, yeah, great. How great is my life? But like, she's also the goddess of like wives and women and, queens. And so you see the limitations of her power and what she can and can't do because of all of these gods. And it makes you think about, like, even if you think about the gods as a reflection of men, and then you see men as the reflection of gods, and how it sort of like plays into, both of them play into each other, in sort of this endless loop, or even just like an endless like sort of reflection of mirrors, right? Like, you put mirrors up against mirrors up against mirrors. How can these men be anything more than their concept of masculinity? How can the women be anything more? And then then what the men are willing to give to them if the whole concept is patriarchy, and then their whole concept of godhood is patriarchy, and then the gods are like, well, we do this. There's so much, like, it's not just the text, it's like what it makes you like think about in terms of how not just we structure society, but how like we structure how we structure religion, or how religion structures us, or what we choose to take away from it and give to it. Because there are so many different factions going on in this, because you also have people who have chosen to be there or not chosen to be there. You have slaves, you have people who are in hiding, you have people who have come there because they're suitors from other places, and you see like the culture clashes and what is freedom, right, for a woman, and what is freedom for a man. And it's great. Like, it'll be on syllabi forever, because, or at least for a while, because it has so much that you could delve into. And I did, and that's why it took me so long to read it. I loved it. I loved every page of it. I And Hera is so freaking snarky. And that's the thing, is like, I can talk about how lyrical the writing is and how like entranced I was by these like really slow, but like slow moments that just like build tension. And then there are these other moments where I am like laughing my ass off because Hera is the snarkiest woman in the entire universe. And she's just like trashing Ithaca in her narration. She's just like, oh, this garbage pile. And you're just like, it's wonderful. It's truly, truly just a wonderful book. And I just highly recommend it. My cat is back, but she's much calmer this time. Okay, good. So I also read Self-Made Boys, which is a Great Gatsby retelling, as I have mentioned before when I reviewed The Chosen and the Beautiful. Gatsby is now in the public domain, which is why you are seeing Gatsby retellings this year, and that will probably continue on. But this one does not have magic like Chosen and the Beautiful, and it is trans. Nick is trans, and Gatsby is trans. It is wonderful. It plays a little loosely with the story structure, to no detriment at all. I think that Anna Marie McLemore is a fantastic writer who has been just only gaining in talent, and just with every book that they write, just so good. And this one is, so when I read Gatsby earlier this year for the first time, there's some serious like I can't imagine having read it in school, being who I am now, and not being like, excuse me, this is pretty gay, right? Like, this scene right here is like explicitly gay, and like not having my teachers be like, I don't know what you're talking about. So these queer retellings of Gatsby are like, these make perfect sense to me. It is also, oh, the cat got hair in the air, and I can feel it like trying to fall on top of my nose. It is also, Nick and Daisy are also Latin, and that also colors the entire thing because Daisy is passing for white in New York, and that sets up a lot of tension in the book because Tom is still racist, and it is a whole ass mess because Nick is just like, because Nick's not passing for white. That's not a thing. And so it's really good, and I really think you should read it. I don't really want to discuss the details of it because I think that it is one of those things where you read it and it's still kind of like got that, it's got so many things going on with it. That when you read it, you're like, okay, it's not just what's gonna change, it's what intrinsically changes because of what starter changes have been made. And so you're reading a different book, but at the same time you're looking for all those little things, all those little connections that make it the same, those touchstones that make it Gatsby. But it's never going to be the exact same book because the white experience is not the same. And I think it makes it a rich experience, just in the same as The Chosen and the Beautiful, because Jordan's not white in that. Makes it a richer experience than if you're just, retelling Gatsby and you just want to, do something different with it. Anyway, so I don't mean to like, I hope that it's not that I'm not giving as much attention to it, to Self-Made Boys. It is literally that it is a book of discovery for me, or it was, and I hope that it could be the same thing for you. I recommend reading Gatsby before any Gatsby retelling, not because I think that it's necessary to read Gatsby in today's society, but because I think that it's really cool to see what these authors have done, when they have changed, or in this case, they call it remixing a book. This is just the series that it's written for. They're called remixes. Yeah, I think this one was a great one. I think it was just as cool as The Chosen and the Beautiful, and it's just very different. And I love that they're so different and both so great, because I've read versions of things, like in college I took a course that was like a bunch of retellings of a specific period of time, and holy moly, were some of them, they were fine. One of them was like, they were doing something specific, which was an interesting thing to do, but they weren't doing it in this super interesting way. And, you know, so like, you can have a great idea and a poor execution. It just hasn't happened yet.